on the air.
We don't have that downstairs. Look
Well,
at
we
that.
should.
That's something. Hello and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Thursday, February 11th. Mr. Clerk, would you do the honors of the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're in a different location tonight. We're on the third floor. Room 103 is being used by the planning board. Because of the snow on Monday, we postponed our meeting until today. Hopefully, everybody got the notice. I know the meeting was posted and also it was on the website. So we have a shortened version of the original agenda. At 6:30, organize, pledge, and read mail. We were going to have our state legislators tonight for an update, a legislative update, and because of the postponement, their schedules wouldn't allow, and it's going to be on the 8th.
Monday, the 7th
Monday,
of
the
March at 6 p.m.
6
Early
p.m.
start time, if that's okay with everybody.
I don't think I can make it.
Okay.
6:15?
It's always recorded and it's on demand, so you can always go back.
I'll be
and
there at
refer to
6:30.
it.
I have meetings that day. I don't think I
They
can
need
get
to leave at 7, and that I think 45 minutes would
Be
be
plenty?
more than enough.
More than
So
enough.
why don't we say 6:15-ish?
Perfect. I'm in. There's a lot going on with the state, especially with this administration being so active with communities, so hopefully we can get some.
If they have a hard stop, is it, in the event that we do have a lot of questions and there's folks in the audience that
We
have
won't let them out,
questions?
we'll make sure the police chief is here. And,
Yes, I'm sure that they can be late for their, well,
Exactly.
for the senator's appointment in
Yes.
Boxborough.
Yeah.
Yes.
They may think they want to leave, but they won't.
we'll make sure, I mean, you know, if 6:30, we'll make sure they're here when you get here. We can guarantee you that.
I just didn't know if it was worthwhile to put it to the next meeting, just 'cause we can guarantee that there'll be a full, if there is an agenda that we need to take care of with
When
them.
is that, the 22nd? What is that, oh, no, March,
No, March 7th.
March, and then what's in, one after that,
Yeah, the 21st.
21st?
And they're,
Into warrant issues and that kind of thing, so.
the March, unless you want to push it off to April, the only available Monday when you're meeting is March 7th.
Okay.
Leave it where it is. If we need additional time with them, we can.
We can have them come back, always.
Right.
All right. So we're not having the legislators here tonight. 7:05 is public input and members update. 7:10, we have a fiscal year 2017 budget planning meeting. That is,
Could you give the chair the agenda as posted with the times?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Here, take mine.
Must have been the other
Because
one.
those are the times.
Okay. I apologize for that. So let's go back. 6:35 will be public input and members update. 6:40 will be 6:35, and then number 4 was the budget planning update joint meeting with FinCom and schools. That's rescheduled for February 22nd. Because of the change, the school committee's meeting tonight. 6:40, Castle on the Trees Playground update. 7 o'clock, May 2nd, 2016 annual town meeting, open warrants and set date to close warrants, and possibly insert some articles tonight. 7:30, town administrator, assistant town administrator, budget, community compact updates, economic development, marketing plan, selectmen's goal number 2, and public safety strategic plan, selectmen's goal number 6. 7:40, we have other business minutes approval. 7:45, we're going into executive session on land value for the Cooper property, 180 Great Road. Mr. Bergman, mail.
Mr. Chair, it's several items. First, we included in the packet a press release from the Baker Polito administration, which was launching a new program with the Registry of Motor Vehicles and local councils on aging called RMV Near Me. And the Littleton Council on Aging is one of the groups that is participating in that. Walk-ins are welcome on the second and third Friday of each month, and other times that can be arranged. by contacting our Department of Elder and Human Services. So we're happy to be participating in that program. Next is a grant opportunity that we're currently working on. It's because we have a community compact with the Baker Polito administration, we're eligible for this, that there is a grant that's available just during this month of February for up to $400,000 for IT information technology projects. So we're busy. I'm not going to tell what it is on the air, where, you know, other towns may be watching to see what a winning application looks like, but we are looking at this as an opportunity to accomplish some of the information upgrades that we'd like to do, especially around parcel-specific information. We've long wanted to get all of the land use data digitized and in a searchable format. This seems like a great opportunity to finally be able to address something. So
On that, Keith, I neglected to say that Vice Chair Selectman Hebert is out in Texas, so she's not here tonight. One of her goals and objectives has been to help out our IT individual, Nancy. This is a great opportunity to give Nancy more work. I think the board, and I'd ask that both you and Bonnie take a look at getting Nancy some help. And I'm not saying hire additional FTEs, but possibly through contract employee, if there's somebody out there that can give her a hand. Last time we got an update, she was running around fixing printers and all sorts of stuff. So if we could maybe talk to her or develop some type of RFP that we can get a contract employee out. Or two, I know the Littleton Light and Water Department are now contracting all their IT services.
Yeah.
So maybe talk to them and jump onto that contract, and talk to Nancy to make sure that she is good with, I need somebody to help me roll out new CPUs.
Yeah.
I need somebody to go out and once a week and visit every printer. She's very busy, and I know Selectman Hebert is a huge advocate of that, so I'd just like to
Yeah,
mention
and we'd be
that.
happy to bring that forward. There are things that have been included in the budget. There's some information that we can share, for our next meeting, that we're over at Light and Water discussing several matters, including this one today. So I think there's some opportunities for us to get additional support for our IT person, either by taking advantage of, we are going to take advantage of the contracting out that the Light and Water Department is doing, because they won't have any
IT
backup,
individual, right.
any employees as backup. It's contracting out. There's about a $50,000 cost that we need to include in our IT budget as a result of that. That's part of it, but we're also looking.
Maintain status quo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to have more detailed budget discussion in budget discussions, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, but we'll
I just
get-
want to make that,
Yeah.
I want to make it clear, I want a part of,
Yeah,
I don't want to let this fall by the wayside. We got public safety here, Nancy's always involved with those folks, and I don't want them to.
So we can agenderize this for our
Perfect.
meeting on the 22nd, and when, I think, as far as I know, Melissa will be here for that
Perfect.
discussion as well. But we're very mindful of that and working on it, and want to make sure that we can maximize this grant opportunity to accomplish something that's consistent with our goals. Another grant opportunity we're working on in the coming months, weeks and months, is Complete Streets funding program. There are two categories: either $50,000 for technical assistance or up to $400,000 in construction funding. Both Jim Clyde and I have taken the training in that program. We've had our policy reviewed and rated by Mass DOT, and we passed. That's good, because ours was the #1 policy in the nation just a couple of years ago, and had been a model for what DOT is using for other policies. But we will be working with all affected groups, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, this board, planning board, other community groups to try to come up with a plan. It may be an opportunity for us to make some improvements around the Littleton Common area, is what I'm thinking. But that, if we wanted to pursue that for, streetscape improvements and sidewalks and things like that, I think we may need to go the route of a $50,000 planning grant this year, and then in the round next year, go for construction funding. We still have time to sort those issues out, but we are working on preparing a grant application, and we'll bring that back to you in the coming months.
Is that part of your master plan update too, PJ?
It all is.
It always.
It's very encompassing, yeah.
Next item is an update that we got from LCTV, which I've got a prop here to show, and it's the rollout of the new streaming video and live. So if you go to the town's website, if you go to the homepage, and then click where it says LCTV on demand, it takes you to this new jump page where see, we've got a 3-second delay here. So where you can go live, and you can pick any one of the 3 channels that we've got, public, which tonight we'll have the planning board, for those wishing to stay here and watch the planning board meeting. School committee will also be airing live in a few minutes, and then on the government channel is the Board of Selectmen show. So you can access other programs, and it's high def. It'll be a higher quality download than you get, but it's the first time that you can stream all 3 feeds through the internet, that you don't have to be sitting at home watching your TV. You can be on vacation in Florida, or, in Houston, or anywhere else.
Business?
Anyone notice there is a bleep delay?
So it's a great step, forward in the technology, and something that we are happy to take advantage of.
So the next will be interactive, so we can have meetings when people aren't in town.
Maybe so. And the last item, just to let you know that there was Nagog Hill Road improvements, project improvements meeting that was held last night regarding the next roadway project. I should also mention that one of the things that we discussed at our last meeting, when we had the street scan presentation, was scheduling a public hearing on roadway improvement plan updates. Since those things are not time sensitive for town meeting, I would suggest that we get back to that at, no earlier than April, that we're going to be busy with town meeting, getting the town meeting articles and warrant to bed. The next decision will be what road to design next, but we won't be spending money. We won't be going to town meeting for an additional appropriation this year, so we would have the time. But we got some great coverage from the street scan presentation last time. There's a lot of interest in it. But I think the public hearing, we'd probably want to look to maybe an available date in April. So.
Excellent.
So that is it. Oh, and that there will be an event on Tuesday, February 16th at 3 p.m. It is in Holliston Town Hall, but it will be the event at which Littleton and other towns in our region are recognized for their Green Communities designation. Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito, along with Environmental Affairs Secretary Matt Beaton and the Commissioner of DOER will be at that event, along with...
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that was the economic development?
That was the...
I'm sorry.
That was the Green Communities.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I'll get the economic development.
That's next Tuesday, right?
Yes, Tuesday at 3.
In Holliston?
Yeah.
I think I can go to that. I'll let you know.
Okay, great, very good. Yeah, and I'll have an update on the economic development on 7A in the agenda.
Okay.
Great.
Moving on, public input. Do we have some public input? Yes, ma'am, just,
Sit here?
absolutely. You can just let us know who you are and where you live.
Yeah, my name's Arlene Martino. I live at 94 Goldsmith Street. I was here before you 2 years ago, urging you to write a resolution to Representative Congress and both U.S. senators from Massachusetts demanding the reinstatement of the Glass-Steagall law, because I was concerned about the growing indebtedness of the whole transatlantic financial system back then. Now I'm really freaked out because the thing was on the verge of collapse. $2 quadrillion in worthless derivatives up there in a bubble, ready to blow and bring on hyperinflation. Back before Christmas, 4 banks in Italy collapsed, and the savings of depositors were expropriated in a bail-in mechanism that has been codified into U.S. law under Dodd-Frank, which means banks start to fail here in the U.S., we can have our deposits stolen, even though the sum total of all the bailouts that they could possibly do will not cover the indebtedness. So, if anything, this is a Glass-Steagall moment right now. We also need to impeach Barack Obama because of his push for world war. He's deploying more troops to Russia's border. He can be removed easily through the 25th Amendment very quickly for his numerous crimes against the Constitution, because if he remains in office, he will surely veto any passage of the Glass-Steagall law. Senator Elizabeth Warren wrote a 21st century Glass-Steagall law, which is an updated version, a modernized version of the law that Franklin Roosevelt put into place in 1933. What it did is it separated commercial banking from investment banking. No investment bankers could dabble with commercial deposits and speculate. Once that law was rescinded, the bankers went wild, and now we have a much worse crisis than 1928. So please take what I'm saying to you very seriously, because just because the popular press is underreporting this whole situation doesn't mean it's not very, very serious. If this thing blows without Glass-Steagall will allow us to bring it down through an orderly collapse, return the debt to the Wall Street criminals that engineered it, and that will save the Republic. So the danger of World War III is also very high, because historically, if you know your history, financial collapse and war go hand in hand. They're historical handmaidens. So it is indeed a very, very, very serious time. Hope you take what I told you seriously, and decide what side you're on, because these are very critical times. I thank you very much. Going around to all the Board of Selectmen in the area, spreading the word.
So this number up top, is this a number where we...
Oh, this is the congressional switchboard number, open 24/7. But ideally, get together, write a resolution, send it down to Songus and Markey, insist upon it, say that you know the life of the nation is at stake. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public input? Hearing none, members' input? Mr. Knox?
Just one thing quickly. This past couple nights ago, the schools had a all-band concert, starting with 5th grades all the way through high school. I went to see my 3 granddaughters participate, but I was just impressed with how the music program has grown in the last 5 years under Hillary Bridge. I was just fascinated to see how many kids, a total of 220 kids participated in that. And granted, the 5th graders, they had to be like 75th graders, but just to see all those kids participate and to see the program grow, and you're able to see the progression from the 5th grade all the way to the senior class, and how the talent and everything has gone through. So I was just impressed. I'm glad I went. So.
Nice. Mr. Ravello?
Yes, I'm going to piggyback on the schools a little bit. The Independent from a couple of weeks ago had an article on our teachers and administrators and the evaluation system on it. And as everybody, or at least most folks in town know, I had been on the school committee, so I certainly took particular attention from that perspective, and then also from the, just Board of Selectmen and being a resident of the town. As I was reading through the article, as I was getting towards the end on the first page, I became a bit dismayed when I read this sentence. Littleton's overall grade was mixed in comparison to the statewide results. And I'm thinking, what could have gone wrong that our teachers and administrators would not have done well? I'll always turn the page, folks, because then it gets to the real facts. And all of our teachers but one are either proficient or exemplary. So once again, and you mentioned the children as a result, and Hillary Bridges, you mentioned specifically, but our teachers, staff, administrators are doing a great job with our kids here in town. Sometimes maybe the front page, they were trying to get us to go to the second page, who knows, to see some of the advertisements. But I wanted to make that point very clear that our administrators and teachers and staff have done very well on state standards. I want to segue quickly, and then in a few minutes, I must go downstairs, please, to a planning board meeting, and it's related to this, and that's the master plan update. Over the last week and a half or so, Keith, Bonnie, and others in town, Maren from the planning board, admin staff, have been working together with RKG, the company that we recommend to the planning board, and the planning board accepted as the consultant that is going to help us go through the master planning update over the next year and a couple months or so. Tonight, the planning board is going to be voting on the contract that we've worked together to come to contractual terms with RKG. And I'd like to report happily that we have successfully come to that, and now it'll be up to the planning board to approve that and go into contract. And I'll be going downstairs to make that recommendation. So we're making progress there. We will have a kickoff meeting early in March, a date to be determined at this point with the contractor. And then from there, we'll move forward, and we're going to be enlisting the aid of lots of folks in town, so that it becomes, as we've said all along, a town document, and it's the town's master plan.
Nice. Well, I have one question about that. How do you do financially? I know we had set aside...
With the mark.
Perfect.
Well, it's public, $150,000 is what the contract's going to be for.
Sure.
We have a fee schedule that comes along with it, too. So as we're going through the process and we see that, gee, we'd like to be able to do this also, and it makes good sense, there are funds in reserve to be able to do that also. Because the town, as you may recall, allocated $213,000 through a couple of different town meetings towards the master plan. We have some salary that we're paying for administrative support, but obviously the vast bulk of this, in the 90th percentile, is going to the plan itself.
Outstanding. Nice job.
That's all the folks who are working it.
Yeah. Being the chair, nice job. I know it's tough to get all that together, and there's a lot coming.
In the chair, a lot on your shoulders.
Yeah. With the board we have, the chair and the Board of Selectmen is very easy.
Room for two chairs.
Mr. DeCoste.
I appreciate the compliments that Joe and PJ brought forward for the schools. I'd like to piggyback on Joe's comment as far as that evening, it seemed like half of Littleton was at the high school campus. And I'd like to give a little tip of the cap to the highway department and Bill Maher for having the parking lots prepared to take as many cars as there were. We'll never be able to fit all the cars that we need to fit up there on any given evening. It was crazy. There was so many cars lining the driveways, and thank goodness there was no emergency, so you guys didn't have to get any emergency vehicles up there because there was people parked everywhere. So my only caution there would be that maybe we should think about, on an event like that, having somebody up there just to keep an eye on people parking like knuckleheads and
Sure.
getting into a situation where we can't get a piece of emergency equipment up there.
Talk to the school committee. They should be reaching out to public safety. For that sake.
No, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. I actually did let the principal was there, and I did bring it up to him. I brought it to his attention.
Especially if it's a big event
I
like
took
that.
I took some pictures of the parking outside.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
That it?
that's it.
All right, I just have two things. So we have 4 contracts coming due, town administrator, assistant town administrator, and then we got our 2 deputies, both police and fire. I'm hoping to sit down, I sat down with Keith, sit down with everybody, codify those contracts, and present them to the board on the 22nd. Just to let everybody know, if you have any concerns, please get it to me, and I will pass it on. That being said, one change we did with the fire chief contract was to tie step raises into evaluations and put it in the contract. It's this board's responsibility to evaluate our chiefs and our administrator. So I know we get very busy. I know that these positions are very time-consuming, but to be fair to the chiefs and the administrator, we need to make sure we have a yearly evaluation. That being said, I'd like to talk about, and we'll agenda it for our next meeting so we can determine how we're going to deal with the two chiefs. As chair, I'll take care of, and we'll be finalizing Keith's evaluation for this year. So we'll agenda it on the 22nd. Let's have a discussion about it and make sure that we owe that, at least we owe that to our executives in this town. So that'll be coming forward on the 22nd. All right. Is Castle on the Tree showing up? Is anybody going to be showing up, Christie, or?
Sarah confirmed that she would be here.
Okay, so.
She downstairs?
I told her it's up here.
Okay, so we're going to hold off on the Castle and the trees. So let's jump right into the May 2nd, 2016 annual and special town meetings.
I'm going to have a comment.
Sure.
When we get to some of the articles.
Yes, sir.
So if you've already passed them by.
Absolutely.
Mind if we readdress them when I get
Do
back?
you want, do you know?
Go ahead.
You want to, we can skip
It's gonna be
over
the
them
budget.
once you come back.
Well, we're going to go down right now.
Okay,
It's 7 o'clock, but the budget one, that's the only one I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
And it's very short.
you got it.
Thanks.
All right, so tonight we need to figure out, set the closing dates to insert the articles, set the date for May 2nd of 2016, and let's talk about the articles. We have some special town meeting articles and some annual town meeting articles. So, Mr. Bergman, I know there's some that we just can zip
Yeah,
right through.
there are some routine ones, and we can identify which those are. Some are newer or more complicated. Just to start off, on the proposed motions, you've got two to consider. One is just to open the warrants and set the closing date. The closing date, which is proposed for Friday, March 18th at noon, follows our practice for the last many years of closing the warrant 45 days prior to town meeting. So that for May 2nd town meeting, which is set by the bylaws for the annual town meeting is set for the first Monday in May. Backing up 45 days takes us to March 18th. That is tradition. That has been enough time for us to get the recommendations done and to prepare the town meeting report booklet that then would get mailed out to the voters 2 weeks before town meeting. Our publication deadline will be April 12th in order to be able to accomplish that. So it's all lines up. With respect to the articles that are proposed for the warrant, the board has tonight and the next two meetings which are held on February 22nd and on March 7th to vote to insert articles. Tonight, I think we could probably do the routine ones that are non-controversial or that you've already voted to your intent to insert. And then we could schedule more substantive discussions on some of the newer subject matters for later discussions. Looking at the special town meeting first, there are at this point, there are 4 proposed articles, although we're aware of a 5th, and I'll mention that in a moment. The first article is bills of prior years. We haven't had any recently, but in case that we do, we put this article in the warrant. It requires a 9/10 vote of town meeting. We have an article to propose line item transfers between the lines of the current year budget. That would not appropriate any additional amounts. The tax rate's already been set this year, but sometimes we've needed to move money around from one line to another to reflect any unexpected spending that has occurred. Article 3 is an important one, which we should schedule a joint meeting with the Finance Committee and the Community Preservation Committee to discuss, and that is how much and from where would we want to appropriate make additional local appropriations into the so-called blended community preservation fund. We did it last year, and we got an additional $200,000 in state matching funds by placing $450,000 in, which was the upper limit, into the CPA fund. The blended CPA policy that was jointly adopted by the Selectmen, FinCom, and CPC last year calls for us to annually make a determination about how much money to put in the fund. We haven't done that yet. We should do it while we have the opportunity before the warrant closes. So I've got a...
So we have a joint meeting with FinCom and school.
On the 22nd.
Yeah, why can't we
We could do it.
CP?
We could invite them as well. Sure, we can do that. Yep.
Yeah. And prior to that, I'd like to, either part of the package or previous to our meeting, let's get out if there's any host community agreements, money coming in, expectations,
Yes.
where it's coming from, of that,
Yes.
funding of that sort, so we can say, okay, if it's 450, 300,000 is coming from X, Y, and Z.
Right, and we've got those updated numbers.
Perfect.
They don't add up to, from the mitigation funds and the cell tower funds, they don't add up to the full 450 yet, but there is some additional money that we're expecting we may get in from home sales from the 15 Great Road
Sure.
area. So we
So
can
that's
update
very
the board
important
on
for
that.
us, too, to
Yeah.
make a
In
determination.
fact, even, I would say, even if we needed to put free cash in,
Yeah.
for, to put $1 in the fund means you get 39 cents back within months.
We can absolutely make that determination.
Yeah. So-
I just want to make sure that those mitigation funds that are coming in are part of this whole process, that's all.
Yes, indeed, we will do that. The fourth article is Mill Pond Restoration Project Feasibility Study, $67,500. At your last meeting, you voted your intent to insert this article, so I would say that tonight, that article would be one of the ones that you could put in. So for the special town meeting, the draft articles 1, 2, and 4, I think you could put in tonight. Another article for the special town meeting, which we've been made aware of, the planning board may be voting tonight to request $12,000 for some planning, zoning assistance to work on an inclusionary zoning bylaw, or to take another look at the over 55 bylaw. The consultant that's being hired, RKG Associates, for the master plan update, the principal consultant, Judy Barrett, is a recognized expert on housing, and if she's doing work for us, she is the person that we should be talking with about any housing amendments to the zoning bylaw. It's not within the scope of the master plan contract. It would need to be a separate procurement. And Bonnie indicates that that we could swing a $12,000 appropriation if the planning board needed it to move the project forward, get funding in May, and then if there were zoning amendments to be brought to the fall town meeting, that we could consider that.
Sure. And just to add to what Keith said, very important piece of this whole process is not only for the zoning changes, but it's good for the master plan also. So we have an opportunity, we have a consultant on staff right now for the master plan, and as Keith said, she's a subject matter expert. Let's take advantage of it while we can. She's here, we'll probably get a better deal just for the fact of having a contract in place. My only concern is whether or not it's 12,000, 15,000. We need to button that up, get that a little
Yeah,
bit
it may
tighter,
be
that's all.
that we had received a proposal for $12,000 just for inclusionary zoning. We're going to look at amending that to also look at the over 55 bylaw and see if the 25% there still makes sense, or whether...
Sure. So that's 5 in the special town meeting. I have one other, and that is Tuesday night I met with the capital feasibility study group, and part of that meeting was not only the capital assessment of all the buildings in town, a process in which we, number 1 is life safety, number 2 is code issues, and we developed a list to move forward to the Board of Selectmen for approval for capital projects, part of that is reconciling what we did in previous fiscal years. Part of, there's some needs out in the parking lot here, and in fiscal year 14, Bonnie,
Either 14 or 15.
14 or 15, there were two projects, one at the high school and one at the PD, to deal with crack sealing and small repairs. There was a balance left over in that because the projects were completed. What I'd ask the board to support is, let's get an article in this special town meeting to say, this was approved in 15 for PD and high school, those projects complete, balance of X, can we use it for town hall? So we can get it done, so there would actually be 6 if everybody's okay with it.
Do you know how much money that was?
I'm gonna say it was like 12 grand PJ left over. Yeah, it was like 12K and maybe another 5,000 in the high school. I can't get the exact numbers, but I'm sure Bonnie's doing the reconciliation right now with Michelle and Daryl are working on that reconciliation, so.
Is it for general repairs or just something specific?
Sealing and general repairs.
This was just crack sealing and
Yeah.
sealing the parking lot. It came in a lot less than
Expected.
originally. And some of the work we thought was gonna be bad was shallow cracks. When they went and looked, at, we thought they were full-length cracks and they weren't, so a lot of those.
So, we'll see, the scope will be developed by Billy Cole. All I'm saying is, there's money there, it's gonna go back, it was set out, it was approved for just what we need out back, so, that's what I'm saying. We don't have to vote on it tonight, until we get the real numbers, and we'll deal with it later. So, we can have a motion right now for the special town meeting for, number 1, bills of prior years, number 2, the fiscal year 2016 line item transfers. Number 4, the Mill Pond restoration, which we already voted to include. And we can have a discussion and get a better number on the inclusionary zoning and the over 55 zoning at a later date. So I'd look for a motion for those 3. That's the issue.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Go ahead, Keith.
Very good. In the annual town meeting, the first 2 articles are routine. It's the election of town officers, and so we need fence viewers and the usual suspects, lawyers, of all sorts of things, so.
25, 30 years now, yeah.
Your usual suspect?
And
knows you will.
and then Article 2 is to hear and act on the annual town report, which is just a procedural article. Next, we have the financial articles, and I should mention that the order in which the articles appear in this draft reflect the policy that the Board of Selectmen adopted some years ago now on the recommendation of the Voter Participation Study Committee. And that is, we have the financial articles first, followed by those requiring supermajority votes, followed by all other. So in the first category, we would have a list of revolving funds in Article 3 for fiscal year 2017. And then we have, and I don't know, is this the final order,
Looks
are
like
we
it.
still editing?
Nope.
What's listed here is the up-to-date
Yes.
revised version.
Yes.
Article 4, which is the FY 2017 operating budget. The article itself doesn't specify the numbers, so that those come in the motion. So procedurally, you could insert the budget article tonight, and it's the recommendation under this article that will be the subject of our ongoing discussions between the Selectmen, FinCom, and School Committee. So you could do articles thus far 1, 2, 3, and 4. Article 5.
Can we stop there one moment?
Yeah, sure.
And I'll defer whichever you want to do it. To speak about it now or wait till the end?
Yeah, let's hit it as you go. Go ahead, go for it.
You know that I've proposed that we look at under-raising to the levy for FY17. Been speaking with town treasurer and certainly other folks here in town about that. There's maybe more than one way to skin the cat. And the particular cat, so the objective is, we're going to get tax increases. Let's just be square about it. Taxes will increase. Thing is, what can we do to help slow that increase? Somewhat put a cap of sorts on it. So that's what I'm interested in trying to achieve here. So that's that particular cat we're looking to skin. And as I said, having spoken with the treasurer and some others, there may be other ways to do that besides just purely saying, let's not raise to the levy. So still things to be examined. But as we go forward and we start putting together, there's a consequence to this also. And that means some things that we may like to do, we don't do. And we have to be square up with that also. So when we say we don't want to see our tax increase, we have to understand our taxes are the revenue that pays the bills, and the budget is what lays out what we're going to pay for in any particular year. So when we look at the revenue and trying to control that growth, it's controlled by controlling spending when it's all said and done. And as a town, if we come together and say we're willing not to spend on A, or B or C, or half of A, or whatever it may be, it becomes a town decision. But certainly, I want it to be very clear that what I'm proposing, by not going to the full levy limit that we would collect in FY17, means that there's something we won't do that somebody in town may well want to. But as a town, when we come together, it may miss the cut. So I want to be square up with that as we go along all the way.
Yeah, and I know you've had discussions, I think, with us also about it. I personally commend, the effort, if we can save a dime for anybody, it's well worth it. But the process of fiscal year 17 budget, going through that vetting process, I think let's not lose sight of your idea, because it's a good deal.
And the reason I see it an opportunity this particular year coming up is with the new growth that we've had in town. We've been fortunate with that, and I'm just hesitant to say, let's go out and spend against it because it's there.
Sure.
That's not the reason to spend it. We'll have very good discussions as we go along, people discussing their priorities and the rationale for it, and we may well just sit back and go, no, really, this is the best way to go.
Right. And I think, the biggest player is going to be the school, and hopefully we can have a great discussion about that in our joint meeting.
Well, in absolute dollars, yes, because it's the biggest piece. But there's so many different components to the budget.
Sure.
So that, I'm not looking at salami slicing, where everybody gets cut, X% or whatever.
Yep.
But we have policies in town that help us, help shape our decisions. And some of these may require that we look at the policy, say, is a good policy and it fits in most circumstances. This particular circumstance, it doesn't, and we're going to decide to vote something that waives that particular policy. And that's across the board. So really, I see the entire budget as being eligible for this consideration, and not any one department,
Absolutely.
or program for that matter.
Comments?
Not having heard the conversation, I think the word noble is a good term.
Yep.
Yeah, I was waiting for that three, but
There's a lot involved. I mean, there's expectations, there's a lot of things that we're hoping to do with the budget that is allotted, and there's expectations from the taxpayer that those things get done. So if something does suffer, to your point, somebody's not going to be happy.
Yeah.
So we need to make that decision collectively and make sure that it's the right decision.
And the beauty is, town meeting will make the decision.
Right. That's the bottom
We're
line.
offering this up, teeing it up as to what we may think is the best approach, but ultimately, town meeting gets to just make that decision
Right.
on May 2nd, so,
Absolutely. You all set, Mr. Rocks?
thank you.
All set, PJ?
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
go ahead, Keith.
Okay.
Number 5.
Yeah, number 5, water enterprise budget, the numbers are not in yet. We'll have them next week to look at, and we met with Scott Edwards earlier today, and he would be able to be here on March 7th to discuss this and stormwater and some other issues, so that we've been working with them on, so we will be back with more information about that.
So leapfrog 5.
So, no, we won't insert 5. Article 6, We do have from Park and Rec, you haven't met with Park and Rec this year. I think you probably want to do that. This falls in the category of making budget recommendations, so I think you'd want to have your budget summit meeting first and then insert this Article 6. Article 7, this reflects the list of projects that you had approved at, or that had been in front of you when you had a vote before. I threw a typo, there's an extra project in the cemetery, 5B, which does not belong in there. I was cutting and pasting from the wrong document, but.
The extra item was your plot?
Huh?
Was the extra
Yes,
item your
right,
plot?
yeah, a twofer.
So one comment on the capital items, again, that working group, the infrastructure working group, that has been about $540,000 a year for investment back into town buildings. We met on Tuesday. We're going to codify the list next week, and we will be presenting to this board on the 22nd.
Okay.
So that list may change.
So this would be a good article to do on the 22nd.
Absolutely.
I've got a placeholder for that, for the
Absolutely.
facilities, so we can.
And just one thing that, in doing the reconciliation piece of what we voted on before, we just need to make sure that, and it's our job, the working group's job, to make sure that we are very specific as to what the projects are. So that when we voted on town meeting, it goes for a specific project. Sometimes we get into, and there's going to be an item for pavement, non-roads. Well, there's going to be a list of pavement, non-road projects. That's perfect for that type of situation. But when we're talking about a roof, we need to make sure that it specifically says what roof and what the expectations are, so that the money does get spent for that roof, and it doesn't come back before us the next year. Go ahead, Keith.
Okay, so the next article that's in this draft warrant is for amendments to the personnel bylaw. The personnel board would be ready to come meet with you at either whenever we can squeeze them in, on the 22nd or the 7th.
CPC, did you just get that?
Oh, I beg your pardon, Article 8, CPC, same thing, CPC is not finalized their recommendations yet. I think at this point that, I'm not sure that they'll be ready by the 22nd, but I think for March 7th, it would be a more reasonable deadline to have them here.
Well, they'll be with us on the 22nd.
They'll be here on the 22nd.
But without their budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think they will have finalized the
Okay.
budget. Okay, so then there's the personnel bylaw amendments, which the 22nd is getting pretty busy. We may want to just do that on, and we're still awaiting work that's coming from the Park and Rec Commission. I don't yet have their salary schedules that they're working on, so why don't we plan on the 7th for the personnel bylaw amendments. Article 10, stabilization fund, is a routine article. There is a dollar amount, Bonnie, to be inserted, which Bonnie will tell us. There's also a capital stabilization fund article, which we've also submitted in the past. The next one, I think we're still waiting on some feedback from the Fiscal Policies Committee to whether and to what extent to establish and fund a debt exclusion stabilization fund. I believe it's under discussion. We don't have a final recommendation yet. I think we could put Articles 10 and 11 in tonight. Article 13 is trust fund, the school trust funds. I don't have any information on that yet, so that will have to wait. Article 14 is a routine article on the tax work-off abatement programs for senior citizens and veterans. We could put that in. Article 15 is the routine article that we use to appropriate the Chapter 90 funds that we get from Mass DOT for highway projects. The motion will include whatever the number is that the governor's office gives us in April. So that's a routine article. Articles requiring supermajority votes, and we'll have more information on the 7th
Yes.
when we meet with Light and Water. But staff and town council and finance staff met with Scott Edwards, Light and Water, today to talk about an article that the water commissioners would like to propose to update the authorization and extend the authorization for cell tower leases. The form of the article will not propose to alter where the money goes, but it will seek to give additional authority for up to 30 years for the leases to be let. It's also the plan to have to do a lease to one entity that can then sublet spaces out on the cell towers, which might allow that other entity to act more quickly than the town can in responding to the current market. The goal of this article is to make sure we continue to receive at least the same amount of money we have. Scott Edwards took a look at it. He's concerned that if we don't have longer leases and more flexibility built in, we might miss some opportunity. This article does not propose to redirect where any of the money goes. Past decisions of town meeting about where the money goes would not be amended by this action. It does seek to take some, to give the Light and Water more ability to respond to market conditions.
30 years is a standard in that industry, as far as cell tower leases are concerned.
Well, we're told maybe 15 is, but an article for 30 years would allow,
So.
we just did a 30-year
I wrote them,
yeah.
and 30 was what we went for. And Ivan Pegasic's on, he's a commissioner, and this is his bailiwick, this is what he
Yeah.
does. So I'm guessing that he had some insight and input into this.
Yeah,
so.
and we asked Scott if, did he need 30 years, and he thought, well, he needs at least 15, and 30 is, actually, we had voted, we just did the Nagog Hill lease, the town meeting authorization was it up to 30?
I think it was up to 30.
30 years that we did in November?
If there's concerns, you do a 15 with an option for 15.
Right, with escalators involved.
Exactly.
But I appreciated that they brought it to our attention. They, actually, Scott started getting nervous after the Clean Lakes Committee committed $300,000 to the stormwater from the cell tower funds, from this source, and which kind of caused, well, what's the prognosis? And that's because there's a $450,000 balance in the Clean Lakes Fund, for which they would make $300,000 available for stormwater, which we'll talk about at a future meeting as well. But I appreciate Scott looking into it and being concerned about making sure that we can maximize this revenue source by proactive steps.
That would be a good segue there, if I may. And that is, I've heard, I don't know how many different meetings where somebody at least believes, and very sincerely believes, that they have claim to some of the cell phone tower money. So we have one codified list that all the correct people in town agree to as to where it's going where.
Yes, in fact, that this, what I asked town council to do when he drafted this article, I said, I need a column, one more column, which indicates what the town meeting votes are that go with each subject matter. So he gave that to me today, and the article that we would propose to post will specifically enumerate the site name, the assessor's map and parcel number for the property, the account, what the purpose is, and to cite specifically the prior votes at town meeting. Because those are, we have to look them up from time to time. And I know a year ago, we had to go through with the Conservation Commission to go through the three articles that that are for open space, to make sure we were of a common understanding.
Do we have the
what
most
those
current
were.
dollar value also?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Very good. Next item is brought to us by,
So 16 is okay
So-
to,
no, 16 we should wait on. We should wait till have they, yeah, so let's plan to do that on March 7th, number 16. Number 17, we should schedule for a future discussion, but these are, it's to add 2 parcels to the tax title butter lot sales program, which the treasurer has received expressions of interest in from neighbors.
Sure.
So we'd like to add those to that
Absolutely.
program. Article 18.
So that one we'll wait for.
Yeah, let's wait on that one.
Wait
Let's
on
do,
17.
I'd say that, yeah. Next article seemed good at the time I prepared the draft, but based on our discussion earlier, we will, does not sound
Exit
like
out.
we will not be bringing an inclusionary zoning bylaw to the May town meeting, so we can strike that. At this point, 2 articles that we are looking at under the final category of other are 2 bylaws dealing with stormwater, which town council has drafted in consultation with the firm of Ty and Bond that we've been working through the water department to come up with a stormwater action plan. Our goal, frankly, is to, and what we've charged the Ty and Bond to come back to us with is, can we do everything that we need to do in the next 3 years for $300,000? Because that would be really neat, because it would mean that we would not need to increase, use any tax levy money or to raise fees if we can accomplish all we need to accomplish under the forthcoming EPA permit. So it might be a stretch, but we're working very hard to see if we can accomplish that, and I think it would help change the dynamic. We've still not seen the new EPA permit for the so-called MS4 permit for municipal stormwater system that's expected out. Well, they've been saying it's going to come out this month. They've been saying that for months. But we will have this as an agenda item on our March 7th meeting to go through these articles.
So we're not gonna insert them tonight either.
No, don't need to insert those tonight. Getting into the home stretch, just 4 more articles to mention. First is that we had a request to draft a home rule petition for an additional package store license, which could be made available for the Littleton Common neighborhood. There is a format to follow in drafting such legislation, and this is between town council and myself. We've come up with this draft. We said we would schedule a hearing on it. We can do this on the very busy meeting on the 7th of March. Then the last 3 articles are routine, borrowing authorization, compensating balance agreement, and personal exemption amounts, so you could insert Articles 22, 23, and 24 tonight.
Any questions, members? I'd look for a motion.
Okay, Chuck, back me up if I miss any. Move the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the following articles onto the warrant for May 2nd, 2016, annual and special town meeting, subject to approval found by town council. Okay, give me the specials, please.
Well, we did the
Yeah,
3
we made the
specials, so
motion.
for the annual, it would be Articles 1, 2, 3,
4.
4,
10 through 15?
10 and 11, stabilization and capital stabilization, then 14, 15, and
22, 23, 24?
22, 23, 24.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to insert the articles. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So, it looks like the 7th is gonna be a town meeting, articles meeting, so, it's always fun. So we're gonna move on to the Castle in the Trees. We have our Castle in the Tree, we're a little early. We had some, changes in our agenda, so, ladies, come on up, we'd love to talk to you guys.
I can put the presentation up on the big screen, you bet.
So if it's a jungle gym for you.
I can't wait.
Aye, state your name.
You'll only show on this one, though.
Oh, come on, Keith.
Yes. So I'm Sarah Donovan. I'm president of the Littleton Children's Fund. I'm Christy Bates. I'm the treasurer. Together, Sarah and I are the general coordinators for the rebuild of the Castle in the Trees playground. And what you see up on the screen right now is the final design of the new playground designed by Letters and Associates, the same vendor who built the playground in 1991. This is at 300 King Street in Littleton. We brought this design, Sarah and I attended the Park and Rec Commission meeting in January, brought the design and received approval to close 300 King Street in September for the build. Excuse me, I'm wounded from walking up 3 flights of stairs. If you go to the second slide, you'll see the date. So it's being closed from September 6th through October 1st.
The entire complex is closed?
So 300 King Street is being closed, and that's right. So the parking lot, the only exception is the First Church Unitarian has their country fair on September 10th, which is a Saturday. So the parking lot will be open on the 10th of September. Otherwise, on September 6th, it'll be closed for Cataldo Landscaping to come in. They're going to remove the current structure and prepare the site for the new one. And we put a date of September 6th and 16th. It might not take that long. Joe Cataldo actually said 4 to 5 days, but we've heard that there's some ledge at the site, and so we want to have a little bit of cushion just in case there's a little more work that has to be done. So that's why we have those dates. Then between the 16th and the 20th, we'll be pretty intense and prepare the area for the volunteers. September 20th through the 25th, that's a Tuesday through a Sunday, is the actual build, and that's when we'll have volunteers, 75 to 100 on site every day. The build is being overseen by a supervisor from Leathers and Associates, and there are 1 or 2 people, we're not sure, from Leathers, but everyone else is volunteers. On the 26th, there will be a final inspection of the build, of the playground itself, and then hopefully on October 1st, and again, we have a little wiggle room in there just in case we go over a little bit, but October 1st is scheduled the grand reopening of the playground.
And for your community volunteers, website, can sign up? Or?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the volunteers in just a minute.
Outstanding.
Yes. Because we increased the size of the playground a little bit, our fundraising goal has increased slightly. So we now we're looking at a fundraising goal of $325,000, and we got $100,000 from the state. We have the in-kind donation of about $75,000 from Cataldo Landscaping, and we raised about $40,000, and that was through. We had 2 kids concerts. We've done a table at all the third Thursdays on the Common. We've had tables at the Holiday Bazaar, and we've had raffles. Littleton Sub Shop has done 2 restaurant days for us. We're hoping to get the $100,000 from the capital plan from the town, and then we'll still have another, more money to raise to meet our goal. So we're still actively fundraising. Keith, if you could go to the next slide. So right now we have at $1,000 and up, we have 9 sponsors. We have at the diamond level, Cataldo Landscaping and also the state of Massachusetts. Cooper Foundation is doing a $7,500 match, and we've already received $3,500 of that. So we're well on our way to matching that. Shaker Hills Country Club is a silver level, and then we have at the bronze level, which is $1,000. We have First Church Unitarian, the Morrison Foundation, Littleton Sub Shop, Omni Properties, RM Rada Corporation. They're donating the porta potties for the build. And then we have the Rotary of Littleton. We are selling playground components, swings, slides, towers, things like that, and we've sold 2 components. All of the component information is on our website. You can sponsor a component, and the component you sponsor and your name will be on a permanent sign at the playground. We're also selling engraved fence pickets, and we've sold over 100 fence pickets, and we still have probably around
400 available. 400 available, so, and this will be around the whole perimeter of the playground. And information on how to make a donation, either monetary component or fence picket, is also on the website. All right, so here's some information on how you can help. And again, all this is on the website, castleandtrees.org. Sorry, that's castleandtrees.org, we missed that. But, it's loaded tools, so this is a community build. Not only do we have volunteers, but we're reaching out to have a lot of items donated, including tools. And there's a whole process on how to take care of these tools. And we're looking at having a large shed donated to store them. So a list of these tools is available on that website, castleandtrees.org. Donate food to feed the volunteers. We are looking to have 75 to 100 volunteers on these 5 days, and they need to eat at 7 in the morning till when the sun sets, or a little earlier. So it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we also are setting up childcare so that people who have young kids can drop off their young kids at childcare and come over and volunteer for a few hours. Because for the volunteers for the build, we need both skilled and unskilled, plenty of unskilled labor. So if you never picked up a hammer before, you can still come and volunteer. And right now, we need some people to help us plan it all. So if you want to go to the next slide, it has a list of all the committees. There's, again, more information on the website, but this is an overview of the committees that we have. The fundraising committee, there's public relations, volunteer recruitment, tools, materials. So for materials, well, the bulk of the materials, we are purchasing. There are some that we are reaching out to the community to donate if possible. Again, food, the food committee, childcare, and all the builders that we need for our volunteers for the community, for the build week, excuse me. Right now, we have had several volunteers step up to help out with a lot of committees. We're still looking for volunteers for the fundraising committee, the tools committee, materials committee, and of course, lots of people needed for the build itself. So again, more information on the website if you're interested, anyone's interested in helping with that. The next screen talks about construction captains. These are also volunteers. This is a big job. They're all volunteers, and they're committed to be at the build for all 5 days from 7 in the morning until it's finished. Right now, so they oversee these various electrical equipment, prefab build, post settings, fence and perimeter, ground cover, etc. We have Kirby and his son Tyler Dolak are doing the framing and decking, so they have committed to be there for that entire build to supervise that. And we hope to have all these captains lined up by June, when we will have an organization day when a representative from Weathers and Associates will be out for the full day to really get us up and running for September. And the last page is information on where you can do it. And the website is .org, castleandtrees.org. We do have a Facebook account. You can find us on Facebook. Email us any questions. And also the phone number's up there too. So right now we're still looking for donations, as I said, monetary, for tools, check that list on the website, and volunteers. That's where we are. So we're looking forward to community build, just like it'll be almost 25 years to the date that the playground was built in 1991.
Outstanding. And is the big tree coming down?
The big tree, well, if you're looking at, there used to be a tree right in the middle. That actually, and that came down 6-7 years ago, I think. And then it was carved into a dragon. The trees that you see here, the bigger trees that are on the property are not being taken down.
Okay.
We had, if you look at the design, to the left of the design where the swings go out, that is expanding the area. That was relatively, that was a new addition. And there are some small scrubby trees that are being taken down, but nothing substantial. Okay. And that's where all the rocks have been dumped over there, so that's where that's being moved aside. And that's thanks to Joe Cataldo, who's going to be
Doing all that
preparing the
site
site for that.
yeah, that's fantastic.
Board members, questions, comments? Chuck?
No, it's good to see the progress, and wish you luck. I'll
Thank you very
try to rack my brain and see if I can go to the site and find out what you need and see what I can do to help out.
I think then you found our Facebook. It's in the list.
Just join the group, he says.
Please join,
Some
yes.
tech savvy.
yes.
Won't like them at Castle in the Trees.
Castle in the Trees Playground in Littleton, Mass.
There you go.
It's Facebook page.
Facebook.
Any questions?
Okay.
Joe?
Just always impressed by all the work you've done and how you're continuing to fundraise. I think it's commendable that you're doing that, because some people would probably just say, let the town take care of all of it. I'm very impressed with the work that you're continuing to do.
Well, it is a community playground, and we really do want the community input. It would be great to see the whole sign filled with local, people and local businesses, like, the original brass plaque that was put up in 1991 with all the donors, that's staying there. That's a large plaque with a lot of names. So we'd like to have
Another one.
equally, equal number of names on the new plaque, on the new sign. I did forget to mention, we are having a fundraiser at Sobey Crafty on March 5th. There's, from 1 to 4, it's for kids. For $20, they can make a pillow, and they don't, all the supplies are provided, and no sewing experience necessary. And then the adults from 6:30 to 9:30. And again, it's on our website, it's on the Facebook page, but come out, make a pillow, meet a friend, it'll be a good time.
And one more thing, sorry, excuse me.
Absolutely.
We are having regular meetings, it's the first Tuesday of the month, and we just moved them to room 23 in this building.
123.
123, excuse me, in this building, on the first floor. And we had a great turnout at our meeting in February, including Melissa Hebert, who was here from the Board of Selectmen. So it was great to see a lot of new faces. We also had representatives from both fire and police departments there, so we're talking with them too about security.
Perfect. And as the board says, I mean, you guys have done a great job. I'm glad that the discussions came before the board about trying to help out in the fundraising. I think the town has to buy into this too. I mean, it is our project and our property, and it's for our kids. So I think that you guys are doing a yeoman's job, and we just need everybody to show up.
Yes, beautiful weather.
Well, yeah,
But the bill goes on, rain or shine.
Rain or shine, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and thank you so much for letting us come here, and we really appreciate your support.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And anytime you want to come back for any type of updates or anything, get in touch with Keith or us or email us. We'll get you on the agenda for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Look forward to seeing you at town meeting too.
Yes.
We have a motion to insert did we take the procedural motion to open the warrant? Yeah.
We
so
did not.
just back on number 6, we should do the first
Good move.
motion.
Look for a motion for...
Is that number 1?
Open the warrants.
Motion 1. Yeah.
Motion 1. Call the town meeting and open the warrants.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, subsection 10, in Town Code, Section 41-1, to open the warrants for the Monday, May 2nd, 2016 annual and special town meetings forthwith, and to close said warrants on Friday, March 18th, 2016 at noon. Said town meetings to be held in the Charles Forbes King Gymnasium, Littleton Middle School, 55 Russell Street, Littleton.
Second.
Moving to second, and all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. All right, so 7A, Community Compact Update, Economic Development Marketing Plan, Public Safety Strategy, Strategic Plans.
It was my hope that by putting this on the agenda, I might actually have something to report on these two projects tonight, and thankfully I do. And in part because of because I let the state administration know that our legislators were going to be meeting with us. And while that did not come to pass tonight, the grant agreements did. So it did the trick. And we have, at long last, received our grant agreements for two of our so-called best practices under the Community Compact. One is for public safety strategic plans, the other is for an economic development marketing plan. Both of those address goals that were adopted by the Board of Selectmen. The third best practice has to do with the Crosstown Connect Transportation Management Association. We've talked a lot about that in the past, and it's been a great way for us to get on the state administration's radar screen. And just to report on that, we've seen some great inroads. We've been gaining about on our reverse commute on the commuter rail line. We've been gaining about an hour a year. That just 2 years ago, the earliest reverse commute from Boston to Littleton was at 9:40. Then in August of 2014, it became 8:37. And in December, it was 7:33. The MBTA is going through a proposal of draft schedule changes to the Fitchburg line and the other commuter rail lines, which are the subject of hearings now. They're going to implement those changes by May. The schedule that they've offered is fine in almost all respects. And the one respect in our region that didn't seem to be good enough was that the first reverse commute of the day made it from Boston to Littleton by 7:40, but then it stopped, didn't go all the way to Fitchburg, and it would go back to Boston. So we've been advocating on Fitchburg's behalf, as well as our own, to get an earlier reverse commute that made it all the way to Fitchburg by 8 a.m. Well, today, that happened, that the administration heard the request. It was a unanimous vote of the MART Advisory Board a couple of weeks ago that the mayors of Fitchburg, Gardner, and Leominster participated in a grassroots event where some of the businesses up at that end of the line were looking for an 8 a.m. reverse commute, and it was reported at that meeting that the Lieutenant Governor had advocated at the request of the Mayor of Fitchburg, Steve DiNatale, the new mayor, and that the MBTA would be revising its schedule to give Fitchburg a early reverse commute of the day that reaches Fitchburg sometime between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. Well, that would be great news for Littleton because it would move up our earlier reverse commute to an earlier time. So it's good. It's all good that there were no discouraging words at the MBTA hearing that I attended in Concord, where we had some issues that Concord, wasn't quite satisfied with the schedule that had been released before Thanksgiving. They seem to be fine with this one, so that's good. If Concord's happy, I guess that means we're happy. So or our legislators are happy. By way of update on the other two projects, we have $15,000 that we're getting that were received in a grant to undertake a public safety strategic plan. The two chiefs had worked together with Bonnie on putting together a request for proposals, and we have a contract which we are now in a position to award. Total amount is $20,000 for the contracts, $10,000 each for police and fire. So the local cost ends up being just $5,000 instead of $20,000. And the firm, chief, that we're doing is the name of the consultant.
Don't chaz me again.
Oh, that's right, you went to the dentist
Yeah.
first.
That is late with a long
No,
work.
it's Team Training Associates, just say Team Training.
Well, that's also the gentleman that, when we were, before
Okay.
the grant, that was the gentleman that we had met with also.
Good.
He's done, here, now you can speak.
Okay.
He's done the strategic plans, just, for Arlington, Mass., Bedford, Mass., C4RJ, which is the Communities for Restorative Justice in the state, so he's pretty renowned for his work.
And those were the low bids, the low proposals.
Yes, it was.
We had received 4 proposals, and that was the low bid, so we're happy about
Police and
that.
fire, same contractor?
Same contractor, yeah, it's $10,000 each for the two.
Downstairs? It is, yeah, Matt.
So we have a launch set up
Tuesday
for
morning.
Tuesday morning with the consultant to meet with the staff about that.
Great.
The other project, which is just late-breaking news, that finally we have our grant agreement with the state to be able to undertake the so-called EDSAT program, the Economic Development Self-Assessment Tool, which will be conducted by the Dukakis Center of Northeastern University. Many communities have done the EDSAT, Westford quite recently. And it is, I know that the Master Plan Update Steering Committee had met with the representative from the EdSat program sometime last, either late summer or fall, I think.
Yeah, early fall, yeah.
And so it was right about the time that we were looking at how to, we were negotiating with the state about what grant they would give us and what we would use it for. So I think we're about less than a month away from doing the launch on this. It'll take another week to get the signed contract back from the state, another 2 weeks after that for the Dukakis Center to be engaged with us, but we've got the Economic Development Committee to help, who I think we want to have help coordinate this effort, along with other stakeholders, the Master Plan Update Steering Committee, our regulatory boards, a number of the financial boards, FinCom, assessors, the Light and Water. We've had a number of players who have been dealing with us on economic development issues. I think we want to use this as a focal point for keeping them involved. I also think it would be a great opportunity for us to include business groups and others like the Littleton Business Association, so that we can have this as an opportunity for a dialogue with our town on economic development issues. And I know that the Master Plan Update consultant, RKG Associates, is aware that we're doing this part now, which will help inform the Master Plan Update economic development component. So the timing is we're on parallel paths here, but I'm delighted that we've been able to get both of these grants in place, and happy to be able to report that tonight.
How about the Rotary Club, PJ? Is that something to be engaged also? Something like that,
This one has awareness.
you know?
Rotary specifically is not an economic forum per se, nor is it a business networking forum. But certainly, a good member of the people are business members of the community, and there's dual membership of many people in the Rotary and the LBA.
All right. Any questions, board members?
I just want to know who these two people are with Keith Bergman in the photo.
That's, yes, how about that? You know, that's all I had was the, well, I guess I'll just go online here, that,
If he goes to Rome, we're going to have to, who's the gentleman?
yes, the, I happened to be at an event
Yes, no, I did.
on the Community Compact Program, which was being, it was held in Westboro, but it was, the keynote speaker was the Lieutenant Governor, and the panel presentation was being led by the director of the Dukakis Center, Barry Bluestone, and it just seemed, and I had posed for selfies with each one separately, and when the two of them were standing in the doorway, that I couldn't but resist that, you know, that
Smile.
she's giving us, Barry, the Lieutenant Governor is giving us Barry as our gift, so.
Nice.
So I thought that was ironic, and it was a good launch for the program, and we're looking forward to it. And when I sent this tweet,
That's a good picture.
and when I sent the tweet to the state, I got some reaction, no.
You keep showing up with that.
Well, I sent the tweet to the state agency that hadn't yet sent me the grant, and thought maybe it was kind of a subtle way to say, you know,
Pay
we're
attention.
looking forward to getting started, so that was helpful.
And what was their reaction? We
They sent me
can't
the
wait.
grant,
Perfect.
yeah.
Whatever it takes, keep taking selfies.
Was that the event you spoke at, too?
That was an event where I made some remarks, yeah. It was not on the panel, but I stood up and pitched, and got a shout out from the Lieutenant Governor, who,
Oh, she mentioned Littleton twice, too, right? Then, besides you, mentioned the town twice, didn't she?
yes, twice, 2 shout outs, yeah.
Fantastic.
And the Lieutenant Governor will be in Holliston on Tuesday for our Green Communities event.
Now I have to go to see the reaction between you two.
You can stand in the middle.
All right, so moving on. We have minutes for January 27th. Mr. Clerk?
Move that we accept the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from Monday, January 27th.
Second.
Moving and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Look for a motion, we'll be going into executive session.
Move the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 6, to go into executive session to consider the value of real property, since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the board's negotiating position relative to the Cooper Farm property at 180 Great Road, and not to convene an open session thereafter.
Mr. Knox? Aye. Mr. Kyle, aye. Ms. Ravello?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Aye.
We are now in executive session. Thank you very much for all watching.